Good Saturday morning, everyone. I'm Will Doctor, bringing you the latest as far as the world of golf is concerned. Here on the Saturday morning after Thanksgiving, we have a ton to discuss as far as the Australian PGA at Royal Queensland. Obviously, this is a historic golf course down under, and you have an incredible leaderboard there with David Puig leading the way at 13 under. He's playing amazing. Live golf member who played his college golf at Arizona State. Here was Puig after round three. He is in a three-way tie for the lead going into Sunday.
Yeah, I feel like that's why the emotions come up, and I hope I can bring more golfers from Finland.
Yeah, so as far as Dave, that was Sami Valimaki, who did win the RSM Classic last week. We're going to get to Valimaki in today's show. Valimaki was in a situation last week. Went into that fifth and final event on the fall series and ended up winning. Got his first win at 27 years old. We're going to get to Valimaki a little bit later. Right now, we're going to hear from David Puig, who once again is in a three-way tie for the lead of the Australian PGA, which is going into the final round, which will be overnight our time here on the Central Standard Time. Here's David Puig after round three.
David, a clean card on the round of 65 on moving day. How do you reflect on your performance?
No, yeah, it was a great day. Great front nine before the rain started. Struggled a little bit on the first three holes after we start back 10, 11, 12, but managed to save three really good pars and after that played pretty solid again and yeah, pretty happy and with good position going into tomorrow.
How was the course playing after another suspension in play due to the inclement weather?
No, yeah, the course is unbelievable. It's crazy how fast it drains and how in good condition it is with all the rain we got the last few days, right? So immaculate, unbelievable.
You've recently taken up full membership on the DP World Tour. How good is it to be down under to kickstart the 2026 season?
No, yeah, very exciting. Obviously, followed the DP World Tour since I am a young kid, right? Grew up in Spain. The main tour is definitely the European Tour growing up, right? So, enjoying my time here. I'm really glad to join the tour, and hopefully I can have a good first event tomorrow.
What would it mean to win your first DP World Tour title here in Brisbane tomorrow? You're in a really good position heading into the final round.
No, again, right? I mean, first European or first DP World Tour I play as a member, right? And having a chance to win is great. So yeah, it would mean the world. Again, growing up watching the DP World Tour and kind of being in this position right now, it would mean everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Puig got the job done tomorrow. You look back at this year's Live Golf season, he finished solo fourth at Live Adelaide, so has some experience there in Australia. He's just 23 years old, one of the better up-and-coming Spaniards. Talk about, Puig, he's from Sevi Cloth, he's from Sergio Cloth, John Rahm Cloth. We'll be very interested to see how Puig handles that final group, there overnight in Australia. The guys he's tied with, you've got Ricardo Gueva, who's there at 13 under, as well as the local Anthony Quayle. Let's hear from Ricardo Gueva first there after round three at Royal Queensland.
Ricardo, great day out there. What a group. You all fed off each other.
Yeah, it was amazing to have that crowd as well. It was very nice. Yeah, it was good that we all played well. Like you said, we fed off each other, so it was super nice.
And what did you like most about your game?
I was very consistent off the tee, and then I kept hitting greens, which is really important on this course, and hold a few putts, which was great.
And you'll possibly be in the lead by the end of the day. How's that sit with you?
Yeah, it's going to be a very good opportunity tomorrow. I've never been on the lead on a Saturday going into Sunday, so it's going to be a new experience. I'm happy and looking forward to the day.
Yeah, the thing with that was Ricardo Gueva. He has not made a cut in 2 events rolling into this week, which makes it a little bit of a surprise that he's atop the leaderboard. That's not the story with David Puig, who came in here off a tied 16th place finish at the Saudi International and finished 14th at the Hong Kong Open and solo 9th at the Open de Espana. Puig has played very well all fall, whereas Ricardo Gueva, this is kind of popping out of nowhere for him. So we'll see how he handles it. I'm curious how Ricardo has played in Australia over the years. Let me just do this quick search. Yeah, his best finish at the Australian PGA is tied 24th. That happened last year. He has made the cut here 2 times out of 3 attempts. So Gueva, interesting sleeper going into the weekend. The other player who is in a tie for the lead with Puig and Gueva is Anthony Quayle. He has been putting on a show all year on PGA Tour of America. No one was talking about Anthony Quayle leading into this week besides me. I'm the only one that had this guy on the radar in the preview. Here's Quayle going into the final round with the share of the lead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. Quayle, 5 birdies and 1 bogey out there today in the final group, and a good way to finish as well. 2 birdies in the last 4 holes. You've got to be pretty pleased.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a little bit more of a grind today. I think the first 6 holes it felt like business as usual this week, and then after the rain delay just wasn't quite hitting at my best, was leaking a lot of tee shots right, and just felt like I was scrambling forever really. And then it sort of felt like that after what felt like a million pars, I made a bogey on 14, and it kind of just kicked me into gear a little bit. I felt like I played really nicely the last 4 holes.
As pros, you get used to rain delays, but how challenging has it been the last couple of days? They've been long days and certainly very hot as well.
Yeah, it has been. It is very hot, yeah. So I think it's tricky. The tricky part is how warm it is out here, and then you go back, you lay down in an air conditioning locker room because you don't really want to sit outside, and then you got to warm up on short notice and get back out there, and you just don't feel like, or I didn't feel like I quite brought the same sort of stuff out there. But I mean, hung in there well, really proud of the score I put together in the end, I think.
You're always in contention, 13 top 10s since your 3rd place here last year, but how beneficial will today be, being in the final group, heading out tomorrow once again in the final group?
Yeah, it's something I think Stevie and I were both focusing on, is trying to get into that final group. After the bogey on 14, he was saying to me we can birdie 3 of the last 4, and I fell up just short of that. But really, that's where I want to be. I want to be in that position. I want to be feeling the nerves. I want to be trying to hit big shots under a bit of pressure. So I'm really excited for tomorrow. It's been a long week, and yeah, just excited to get into it.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about this pre-tournament. I didn't even know pre-tournament. But Quayle has Stevie Williams on the bag this week. And, of course, Stevie caddied for Tiger Woods in his prime, caddied for Adam Scott en route to a Masters. I think Quayle's going to have as good a chance as anyone going into the final round at Royal Queensland. You look at the way he's played rolling into this week, 4 top 10s in a row on PGA Tour of Australia. It's been an absolute privilege to watch him do his thing all week at the Aussie PGA. I would say the player that, is really the best player, the top 5 on this leaderboard, that's got to be Minwoo Lee, who we saw win the Houston Open earlier this year. It was his first PGA Tour title, and he knows how to close the door in big-time golf tournaments. We've seen him do it 5 times on the DP World Tour, including once at this tournament, the Australian PGA. Minwoo goes into the final round 1 shot back of Puig, Guerra, and Quayle. Here he was after round 3.
Min, a third round 67 here in Brisbane. How do you reflect on your performance?
First of all, 6-7. No.
It
was.
It
was okay. I would say some solid stuff and then some average stuff. So, hopefully tomorrow's a good day and I can find something.
How was it out there playing with Ricardo and Dan?
Yeah, we all played well. We fed off each other and nice to have a lot of birdies in the group.
What would it mean to win your 2nd title here?
Yeah, it'd mean a lot. I mean, in front of the Australian crowd, and I can call home, it'll be special again.
So we'll get to more on the Australian PGA later on. I would say at one shot back, I mean, my pick going into the final round would obviously be Minwoo Lee to to have a great Sunday performance, probably shoot around 66 and win this golf tournament. You got a couple other guys you have to worry about, though, as far as winning this tournament. Adam Scott is 2 shots back at 11 under. Daniel Hillier, who is another Australian local, been playing very, very well in the DP World Tour. He's 2 shots back going to the final round. You've got Winyi Ding, great player from China, only 2 shots back, and so is Mark Leishman. He sits there at 11 under. So I would say the final round of the Australian PGA, that'll be going on overnight on Golf Channel. Absolutely must-watch stuff. We have to recap yesterday's Skins game. We're going to do that in today's show. Sami Välimäki, of course, became the first Finnish winner on the PGA Tour. At 8:15, we're going to interview here in a couple minutes. We're going to interview the man who finished second to Välimäki at Sea Island, which was Max McGreevy, who clutched up over the final 2 weeks of the season with back-to-back top 3 finishes to keep his PGA Tour card. Look forward to hearing from Max here at 8:15, and then at 8:30 we'll welcome in our good friend Drew Murdoch, who is a Houston native and played his college golf right up the road at the University of Houston, and he just finished his first full season caddying on the PGA Tour. Caddied on the Korn Ferry Tour for a couple years and has climbed the ranks with his guy Matthew Riedel. So we'll put a bow on 2025. Also running a great Instagram page, Murder on the Bag. So much junk going on the social medias, Instagram, X, all that. Great to find a hidden gem. Who's putting out great content. Drew Murdoch is at Murder on the Bag. He's basically chronicled his whole season as a caddy and done a great job updating that week to week on Instagram. So look forward to hearing from Drew at 8:30. 713-780-3776 is your two-way telephone line to get in here in the middle of week 47. We have to review Thanksgiving. I would say Thanksgiving absolutely delivered between the food, and the sports, and the company. A lot to do. I wanted to give you a feel of the Australian PGA to start the show, but a ton to do as far as reviewing the Skins game. We're going to get to McGreevy on the other side, get to Murdoch a little bit later on, give you the latest as far as the world of golf. We'll be back after this break. This is the Golf Hour with Will Doctor on ESPN 97.5 Houston.
Golf Hour.
On ESPN.
This is the Golf Hour.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Will Doctor.
We now head to the guest line and welcome in PGA Tour member Max McGreevy, who is fresh off a scorching fall season, most recently recording back-to-back top 3 finishes at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship and the RSM Classic, and 2026 will be his 4th full season as a PGA Tour member. He won 3 times on the Korn Ferry Tour and was also part of a national championship winning team at Oklahoma in 2017. We're fired up to have him on the show on a Saturday morning. Max, congratulations on just an epic ending to 2025, and thanks for taking some time this morning. How are you?
Yeah, thanks, Will. Thanks for having me on. All good. Finally getting some downtime.
You know, Max, was Thanksgiving, was it much better after the success you had on the course this fall, or does that not make a difference to life at home?
Yeah, was always ready for a little bit of downtime, but even heading into those last couple of weeks, I still had Q school kind of on my mind a little bit still now too. So, can kind of throw that out the window and can relax a little bit more, just knowing that I can actually take some time off and don't have to worry as much.
Through your 3 seasons, on the PGA Tour that have come over the years, have you learned to manage your off seasons any differently than you did, let's say, in college or your first couple of years out, your first couple of years as a professional?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always want to, to make some good tweaks and a couple improvements here or there, but especially after playing a good year like this year, I know that I have to. More of those tweaks are going to be mentally, and mentally I need a break as well too. So luckily I've got a great family at home, a little girl now that we can chase around, and hopefully she'll be walking here soon. And little things like that make the off season a little bit better for sure. But yeah, I've just been better at managing my time as far as that goes with a family now, and still putting in the required time that I need, but just in a more dedicated manner.
Does the addition a new daughter to the family, and congratulations again, Max. Did that, how was that first year as a father on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, we have, such a great perk of having daycare, with us on the PGA Tour to, allow, my wife and daughter to come on the road a little bit, give my wife a little bit of some freedom, but, if I'm gone for 25 to 30-ish weeks a year, I want to be able to see them as much as possible. So, having them with me a good chunk of the season really not only, uplifted me in my bad times, but, they were there when it was just, a couple bad days or good days or whatnot. My little 11-month-old girl doesn't know any better, so she's got a big smile on her face, and you just have a little bit of fun after every single round instead of, thinking about golf all the time.
And has your structure as far as practice changed as a father? And I think what I mean by that is, I didn't know you before you were a dad, Max, but I'm wondering, did you spend all day, all night practicing, whereas now as a dad things are more structured, or have you always been structured with your practice?
No, I'm definitely not as structured. I definitely like to play a lot more. I like to play games. I like to play, with other, guys, competition type of thing. So I still try to do that, but it's a little tougher now. I mean, I definitely like a good, 3-hour session if I can every day to get away, get my work done. But there's not very much lollygagging going on in that practice session type of thing. And I have to take a couple days here and there to go play with the guys and have some competition. But yeah, really, on the drive out to the golf course, thinking about exactly how I want that session to go and make the most of it, so then we can enjoy the afternoon with the family.
We're here with Max McGreevy, PGA Tour member on ESPN 97.5 Houston. Max, the putt that I'm going to remember from the 2025 Fall Series is the 30-foot birdie putt you made on the 18th at the Seaside course to shoot that final round 63 at the RSM. I'm just wondering, over that putt and in your preparation for that putt, did you have an idea of what was on the line as far as the Aon Next 10 and your security in the top 60? Was any of that going through your mind over that final putt on 18?
Not really. I mean, it was still not playing super hard out there, I feel like. So I still felt like I was going to come up short, even if I birdied 18. Obviously, in my mind, I knew that if I did, then would probably end up solo second, which was obviously the benefit of it. I still didn't think that was going to be enough to secure the Aon Next 10 type of thing and move into 60th place. I didn't know where everybody else was at as far as that went, but yeah, I mean, kind of all the chips aligned there right at the right time for it all to go good. And unfortunately and fortunately, I feel like that's how it goes sometimes. The chips fall perfectly or they don't type of thing. So was happy that putt went in, but honestly, was just trying to cozy it up there a little bit, and luckily found the bottom of the cup.
I had some popcorn ready for a potential playoff between you and Sammy. I was ready to roll for the potential of that to happen. And I know you told the media last Sunday, Max, that you didn't really know at that point what had clicked for you over the last month of the season. Obviously, before Bermuda, T11th at the Black Desert, and just had a really solid fall series. Do you now know what clicked? Has anything changed since last week?
If anything, I would say just I actually put 4 good rounds together in golf tournaments just kind of consistently. I mean, and it's not that anything changed as far as that went. I didn't play any safer or anything like that. I just think that was what was deterring me like throughout most of the season was I actually felt like I had a pretty good year. I just had a Saturday where I shot 72, 73, or, maybe a stretch somewhere where I went, 3-4 over par in a 9-hole stretch. And it just, I don't know, those things just can't happen, if you're going to have, a top finish on the PGA Tour. So, luckily I just felt like I didn't make any crucial mistakes or, runs of bad mistakes over the course of the last couple of months. And I think that was just confidence building as well as just week after week went on. And, luckily just kept trying to shoot as many under par rounds as I could coming in. And, they just kind of stacked on top of each other and just grew some confidence that way.
Incredible stuff. Now, you set the record this year for the most consecutive fairways hit. You hit 60 fairways in a row. It's the second most of all time. And Max, I'm not sure if I've hit 60 fairways in my life, but when you play with the weekend golfer, you said you like to play games and like to play with fellow professionals, and I'm sure you play with a lot of average amateurs, whether it be at home or in pro-ams. What's the common mistake you see them make with the driver?
I mean, it's probably overswinging for the most part. I mean, we all tend to do it, over the course of 18 holes or a couple rounds or something like that. It's just, especially for, the average golfers that I play with, maybe they don't play too often, so then they're so excited to get that driver in their hand, the once a week that they play or something like that. Really want to hit that long ball type of thing. I mean, I'm super short when it comes to standards on the PGA Tour for sure, but no, I know how much the short grass helps as well. So the term wouldn't be guiding it in the fairway, but it's just not a long ball every single time type of situation. You have to assess the situation and what the shot kind of calls for type of thing.
We've got Max McGreevy joining us on ESPN 97.5 Houston. Max, I just have a couple more questions for you. You've got 3 full PGA Tour seasons under your belt, but you've also won professionally in spots like Japan and China, 3 times on the Korn Ferry Tour, as aforementioned. In what ways did that global experience kind of shape you into the player you are today, if so at all?
Yeah, a lot of different adversity. Even over the course of a PGA Tour year, we're playing, 3-4 different types of grasses, from week to week to month type of thing. Just a bunch of different, aspects that maybe you don't pay attention to all the time when you're first coming out as a pro or something like that. So just getting more used to that type of stuff and maybe not having to worry about it as much as, can't believe I've played for 8 years now, but you learn different lies. You learn, the way that you play better on certain courses type of thing. It's just, I take all of that into account a lot and, have been lucky enough to win a couple of times and have success on different types of either grasses or climates or different stuff like that. So, it's not a science equation, but little stuff like that just makes you a lot more comfortable from time to time. The more that you, I really feel like a lot of guys kind of, start to pop around that 30 age. There's obviously a lot of really good young players too, but you see a lot of guys when that 30 mark hits, they're just a little bit more comfortable. They've been around a little bit more and just aren't worried so much week to week about, the differences of where they're playing.
And as far as, when you came out and first turned professional, has the team around you changed at all as you've accumulated years as a pro, or has it stayed the same for the most part?
Yeah, it hasn't really changed a ton. The only real addition was I've never really had a set in stone swing coach. My dad played college golf, tried to play professional golf a little bit. He's kind of always watched my swing, short game type of stuff. I started working with Michael Gellerman in February. I actually hadn't made a cut yet.
Max, I'm not sure what that was there from Studio 1A. I hated to interrupt your answer there, but please continue.
No worries. Yeah. So we started working together in February type of thing. I hadn't even made a cut yet, but it's, Gellerman played 2 years with me at Oklahoma. He played a couple of years on the PGA Tour. Not only is just having somebody that knows the game and has been around, those situations mentally too that I can roll through, but also a good golfer in his own mind can beat me. It's nice when your coach can beat you. You know what I mean? From in your off weeks type of thing. So it's been a good relationship that we've had, and excited for it to continue. But other than that, no, I've had a great team since the start, and I have a great support system. It's pretty remarkable what it takes sometimes, as far as the team goes, and I'm super thankful for everybody on mine.
When you look back to 2017 and your time at Oklahoma, let's say you have a junior golfer listening to this, Max, and obviously it's become a lot more competitive over the years, but let's say they're trying to figure out where to go. You obviously had an incredible experience at OU. How did you make that decision? Do you remember kind of sitting down and trying to decide where you were going to spend the next 4 years to prepare yourself for professional golf?
Yeah, a little bit. I wouldn't say I was a super highly ranked junior golfer type of thing. I had my success, but mainly in the Oklahoma region type of thing. And I'm just I like a hard-nosed coach. I like discipline. Not like too much discipline, but I like somebody to take accountability a little bit to help me out in that aspect of it. And I was probably a little young and cocky, and I could tell when I sat down and had my conversations with Coach Schipple there at Oklahoma that he was going to try to get the most out of me. And I wanted to play golf for a living. You know what I mean? So when I sat there and had those conversations with him, I could sense the amount of pride he had in wanting to develop his players and get them to the next level type of thing, not only physically but mentally as well. So just sitting down with him in those conversations, it just felt like a good fit. And it's not that I didn't have good conversations with other coaches. It just that kind of resonated with me, I think, a little bit more. So that's something that I tell a lot of younger guys if they're ever looking is there's a lot of programs that can give you a lot of stuff. The facilities can be amazing, but having a good solid foundation of growth throughout your period of time in school is really the key to continuing the career for sure.
Max, last question for you. What has been your favorite course on the PGA Tour schedule?
I'm pretty old school. I like the traditional stuff. So Colonial is definitely one of my top ones. They did the redo, and it's maybe not quite how it used to be and how much I love it, but I love the history of golf with Hogan, and that was the event my dad brought me to growing up a lot. So Colonial is always that one when I walk back into the clubhouse. I love being back on property.
Max, we appreciate your time this morning. I hope you have a great weekend, a nice couple weeks off, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2026.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That is Max McGreevy, PGA Tour member here on ESPN 97.5 Houston. In case you missed the interview, you can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify at the Golf Hour hosted by Will Doctor. We'll be back on the other side with Drew Murdoch, PGA Tour caddy from Houston. Played his college golf at the University of Houston and has been caddying for the last couple years on Korn Ferry Tour and PGA Tour. For superstar, up-and-coming prodigy Matthew Riedel. So we'll look forward to hearing from Drew. Great to have Max aboard. A little bit later in the show, once again, we'll get to the review of the Skins game. Maybe we'll do some of that with Drew. I'm not sure if he watched it. Not sure how many of you watched it, to be honest. And that's kind of my beef with this iteration of the Skins games and a lot of the Skins games in the late 2000s. Where is the superstar power? When the Skins game first started, back in the early 80s, it was Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Lee Trevino, and Gary Player. And that was in the 80s. In the 90s, you had Curtis Strange winning it. You had Freddie Couples winning it. And now all of a sudden, in the 2000s, they started to welcome players to that game like Stephen Ames, Fred Funk, who is a great guy. I don't mean to rule out Ames or Funk, but if you're going to have one of these exhibitions in the middle of football season, Thanksgiving week, I would say you better have Scotty and Rory there, the top two players in the world. And I know they had world number 3 and the world number 4, Tommy Fleetwood and Xander Schauffele, but we have a little bit to break down as far as the Skins game and how they can improve that product. This is the Golf Hour, hosted by Will Doctor. We'll be back after this.
You're listening to the Golf Hour
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Huntington Bank Studios. Here's Will Doctor.
Nice to have you aboard. We will get to some Australian PGA covers a little bit later on as David Puig leads the way alongside Ricardo Guayeva and Anthony Quayle. We put a bow on the 2025 fall season with third-year PGA Tour member Max McGreevy. In case you missed that interview, you can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We stay on the guest line. Welcome in our good friend Drew Murdoch. And in case you missed the start of the show, Drew was born and raised in Houston, played college golf for the Houston Cougars, and has been caddying over the last 2 years for Matthew Riedel, also a Houston native who played his college golf at Vandy. And Matthew has worked his way up the Korn Ferry Tour and PGA Tour. Drew's been right there with him the whole way. And Drew's also a superstar writer. He's chronicled his week-to-week journey on social media at Murda on the Bag. Drew, thanks for joining me this morning. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, man. How are you?
Doing well. How are you? Happy to be on. I didn't know I'd be following up Mr. Max McGreevy. What a guy.
How many times did y'all get paired up with McGreevy this year, or over the course of the last couple years, Drew?
You know, we haven't actually been paired with Max, but funny enough, they did a mentorship program for PGA Tour U for these guys coming out of school, and Max was Matthew's kind of mentor, so they went back and forth a lot, and I've just kind of gotten to know Max a little bit through those two, and he's a stud, man.
What do up-and-coming rookies need to be mentored over when they first get their PGA Tour card?
Everything. I think the hardest part for these young guys is mastering Monday through Wednesday. That seems to be a really difficult adjustment because when you're in college, you show up to these tournaments with 5 other guys, you play one practice round, you go to sleep, you eat a hotel breakfast, and then you go play 36 holes. Whereas when you get out on the PGA Tour, it's so much different. You have to figure out whether you're in the Pro-Am, whether you can play on Monday or Tuesday, and there's a lot less access than I would have guessed before we started doing this. It's really kind of, you get there Monday, figure everything out, and then you go from there, whereas these older guys who've done it forever kind of know the schedule. They've played the golf courses. They know where they're staying. So we're behind on most weeks from the start.
Drew, do you have a tough time, like in college, it seems like you don't really have time to think. You know, you go to class, you go to practice, you go to workouts, you got your tournaments. Do you see any younger guys struggle with the amount of time they have on their hands in the world of professional golf?
I don't know if I've necessarily seen other guys struggle with that, but it is very easy to turn a 3 or 4 hour day into an 8 hour day just with the amount of access and things to do at every golf course. I always joke to Matthew that nobody's better at turning a 4 or 5 hour day into a full day than he is, just because you can eat a couple meals out there, you can work out, get treatment on your body, play 18 holes, and then go mess around with equipment, tour trucks, manufacturers. They really have everything out there for you. So it's kind of almost a maze of just like zigzagging back and forth with how you spend your time sometimes.
You know, people talk about the work-friendship relationship. Obviously, you and Matthew have been friends for a long time. Is that real? Is that something you do have to kind of work through? Or does everything, you know, your relationship, whether you're working for him in the middle of a round versus, you know, maybe just enjoying a meal with him in the afternoon, was that work? Has that been work for you, or do you feel like you're living a dream, Drew?
Both. You know, there are days where it feels like it is work. You know, when you play 5 or 6 tournaments in a row and you miss all those cuts, I can promise you it's not the most fun reality to live through. But at the same time, when you take a step back and look at what you're trying to accomplish and where you are and who you're playing against, it's really cool. And to kind of watch my friend go through that and watch him play at the highest level on the highest stage with everything in the world to play for, it really is amazing. So every person I talk to always says, "Oh, dude, you have the coolest job in the world." And that's rarely lost on me, but don't get me wrong, when it's a Monday in the Quad Cities and you've just driven 7 hours from Detroit, it does feel a little bit like work sometimes.
We've got Drew Murdoch, PGA Tour caddy, joining us on ESPN 97.5 Houston. Drew, how many events in total did you work this year? How many cities did you go to?
We worked, I think, 25 events, so 25 cities, I guess.
And what constitutes as a successful day as a caddy? Golf, as you know, crazy game. The success rate on a day-to-day basis, based on, I guess, how we evaluate things. I think the majority of time you get off the course and you're thinking, I could have played better. There's always room to improve in this game. So how do you not drive yourself crazy as a caddy? How do you grade a successful day?
I think just being prepared. I know that's not a very sexy answer, but the days when I'm most frustrated are the days when I feel like I wasn't very helpful for Matthew out there. And there are times where I'll look at him and be like, "Man, I'm sorry. I'm coming up with all the bad ideas for you right now. I'm trying my hardest, but it's not working." But being prepared, I mean, Monday through Wednesdays are super important for caddies, getting to the golf courses, and that's really where all the work is done. So by the time Thursday comes around, it's just kind of how's he playing and how can I assist him to get comfortable and play as well as he can, because that's really the main objective is to just let him play golf because he knows how to do that pretty well.
Is there any you versus you kind of fighting going on? Maybe Drew versus Murda, or however you put it to yourself, when you're trying to figure out whether you should stay silent or offer your advice in a somewhat high stakes scenario. Do you ever have that battle with yourself?
Absolutely. That's by far the hardest part of caddying is not necessarily knowing what to say, but knowing when to say it. Because, I mean, I've played golf at a reasonable level to know that the wrong comment at the wrong time can be super unhelpful. And it's always a constant battle of, am I saying too much? Am I saying too little? How can I help him get comfortable? Because these guys are playing for so much. If I can get Matthew's head out of, this putt might be worth $500,000, then that's probably going to be helpful. But knowing what to say and when to say it are so important, and I think I do a pretty good job of that just because Matthew and I go so far back and we can kind of talk about whatever we want out there, which is not necessarily always the case.
I don't think I've ever asked you this. Where did you first meet Matthew? Where does this relationship start?
I think it was like 10U baseball in SBMSA. Just got on the same baseball team and kind of a friendship grew from there. It was, I think, the Tar Heels baseball team. So Matthew's a pretty good pitcher back in the day.
Yeah, could he throw it a little bit, Drew? Was there a potential future there as far as the MLB? How much baseball did he play?
Oh, not that much. I'm not going to pump his tires too hard, but he was a good Little League baseball pitcher.
Yeah, it's funny how that translates. There's so many great golfers who grew up playing baseball. But Drew, I appreciate you letting us into your relationship and your year, with Matthew and kind of what it takes to be out there week to week inside the ropes. I want to ask you a couple questions about the media. I mean, you do a great job, chronicling life on tour as a caddy, on social media, and you also do a wonderful weekly blog on delcampogolf.com. I love the weekly dispatches that you're putting out there week to week, and obviously it's, as we've talked about, it's something that's missing from the world of golf media. What's when you when you have kids coming up to you at the RSM, and you're in the middle of your job, but you're also putting on a great product on social media. I know you know that. How did you kind of create and maintain a protective bubble to maybe minimize distractions this year? Is that not even something that's really going through your head?
It's changed a little bit over the last month or two just because my page has gotten a little more popular recently. The first, I'd say 75% of the year, it was more of a passion project of, I made an account just so that my parents and Matthew's parents kind of knew we were alive just because we don't send them very much content. And it kind of evolved into something that I took seriously. And so I haven't really kind of figured out what I wanted to be with, because it is cool to have people to come up to you and ask for a photo and tell you they love the page. But at the same time, the number one objective is to get Matthew Riedel playing his best golf. And if there's any distractions beyond that, then it kind of needs to be put on the back burner. But right now, it's super fun. I mean, it's so cool having random people
and
from
Drew,
all over.
you don't get the. No one else can provide the kind of insight that a caddy can, and you do a great job staying on the line of, not getting too. I can tell it's not getting in your way day to day, but you're also giving people an insight of what's actually going on. And that's what I meant when obviously you've got people walking up to you at tournaments thanking you and what do you see in the future? Do you feel like a caddy can also be a member of the media?
Man, what a question. I think so. I mean, look, we have such weird hours. That's one of the hardest things about kind of finding something else beyond being a caddy is you're out on the golf course for 7-8 hours a day. So who's going to want to hire somebody like that? But from a logistical standpoint of do you value the information? I think absolutely. It would basically be like having a coach in the NFL to resort back to ask information about. I mean, caddies are super locked in on almost everything that the guys on tour are. They're just less famous. So I think that would be a pretty interesting idea that you had.
Yeah, I truly believe, based on what I've seen with you and Matthew this year, is there's no better source to ask a player questions, to get some of their thoughts, to watch what they're actually doing, than the caddy. So I think you've hit the nail on the head with something there. I look forward to seeing how that grows. Drew, let's see. I have time for a couple more questions for you. I'm interested to hear how your job changed, if at all, moving from Korn Ferry Tour to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it didn't change a whole lot, other than I need to expect a lot more for myself. There's a pretty big difference in the guys out here and the guys on the Korn Ferry Tour caddy-wise. Just, I think the guys on the PGA Tour really take it seriously, like it's a life or death job. And the Korn Ferry Tour can sometimes just be a little bit more fun with some more filling caddies. So it took a lot more work Monday through Wednesday of, hey, I'm going up against Ted Scott or Tim Tucker, guys that have been caddying for 25 years with some of the best players in the world. Like, how can I give my guy the best chance to play good golf? And that's just spending more time on the golf course, spending more time with Matthew. And so I would say the job didn't really change, but the expectation of quality work was just elevated a little bit.
Who's a vet caddy that you've learned the most from, that you enjoy spending time around the most and picking their mind?
Man, that was something I was really nervous about coming into it, just because I'm.
Are you trying to do your own thing, Drew? Are you trying not to get influenced?
Thing, yeah. But a guy named Michael Burns, who caddies for Hayden Springer, was super nice early. We put with him at Torrey Pines, and I remember he gave me his phone number and just said, hey, like, if you ever need anything, call me. And he gave me a much-needed bunker lesson, and he's just been a guy I can always rely on if I ever need anything. So a lot of the older caddies have been super nice, which I really was nervous about, but they've been all pretty good.
Drew, when you were playing golf at the University of Houston, is this something? And I know you spent time at some clubs in the summertime. Went up to Marion. You've caddied at some unbelievable places. For an up and comer who is trying to figure out maybe their place in the golf world, maybe they're thinking about caddying. When did how do I put this? When did it really start to become an interest in something that you really wanted to do?
That's a good question. I still don't know if I want to do it. So my advice to people is become friends with a PGA Tour player when they're about 10 years old and ask nothing of that guy until you turn about 24. I just got really lucky. He didn't have anybody coming out of college, and I'd been caddying at Marion over the summer, so he knew I could at least walk and carry a bag without too much trouble. But I don't know. I think more seriously, it's just go try to do it. If you want to become a PGA Tour caddy, start on the Korn Ferry Tour and go from there. I think a lot of people kind of lose faith after one or two things that don't break their way. But if you're dead set on something, just pursue it.
Drew, I've got one more question for you. Who's getting more numbers at tournaments? Are you taking numbers for yourself, or and I don't want to get Matthew in trouble here. I know he just got engaged. Saw that via social media. Who's getting handed more numbers at tournaments? Is it Murda or Matthew?
Come on, it's Murda. Matthew's an engaged man. He's locked in on one person. Murda's a free agent.
Wow. We'll wish him well. Murda on the bag. That's Drew Murdoch. Drew, we appreciate the time. Listen, I know we could sit around and chat for a couple hours. I look forward to doing more of this in 2026. But we got to cut to break. We appreciate your time, and have a wonderful weekend, my friend. All right, that's Drew Murdoch, PGA Tour caddy. We'll look forward to keeping track on him in 2026, as well as Matthew Riedel, who he's on the bag for, and we'll keep an eye on as far as great players coming out of the Houston area. We got to go to break. The show's over, actually. Great to hear from Max McGreevy. Great to hear from Drew Murdoch. We'll talk to you next Saturday here on the Golf Hour with Will Doctor.